Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Welcome back. Episode 98. Really getting along swiftly and looking forward to that number 100 next week. And we really have an awesome guest to celebrate episode 100 with us as well. But first today I've got Norma Simons with me. And literally, I can say she's with me. She is here at my house. And really awesome to have her here, and we're going to have a lovely conversation this morning. So I'm going to introduce her in a second to you. But welcome. Thank you very much for joining us live. I always appreciate it when we can be together live. I think it is very special, and really looking forward to this. So let's see who's saying good morning. First in this morning is Denise. Denise, good morning. Nice to see you. Malcolm as well. Good morning, Malcolm. I hope you guys are lovely there down in Cape Town. Razan, good morning, goeiemorgen. So Razan will be my guest on Friday to end off the month of August. So really looking forward to her discussion and her conversation with me, or mine with her rather. And so join us on Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. live. Really looking forward, Razan. Thank you for doing this as well. I look forward to that conversation. It's going to be very creative as far as I get it. So it's going to be an interesting and a very just an eye-opening conversation as well. So looking forward to that one. Renata, good morning. Welcome. Nice to have you with us. Nice to see you again. Kobus, morning. First time listening while driving. Hey, there's always a first time for everything. Hey? So let's do it. Kovendra, good morning. Nice to have you back as well. And then Mark down in Australia, in Melbourne, if I remember correctly. So Marky, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us over on LinkedIn. If you are on LinkedIn or here on YouTube, say hi. Please, just in the chat, you can talk to us, and then I can sort of just bring it onto the screen. If you want to ask questions or just share opinions and that, you are more than welcome to do that. So I really want to invite you to take part in the conversation. And if something resonates with you, you know what, let us know. And if you have your own experience, let us know. So that'll be awesome. Kuketsu, good morning. Nice to have you back once again. Really love seeing you here. And so just quickly a few things before we get started, and that is that this morning there is a summit registration that went live, and that is the Financial Planning Summit that will take place in October. If I remember now correctly, my dates is from Monday the 12th until Wednesday the 14th, so it's a 3-day summit, virtual summit. It's brought to you by the Collaborative Exchange and the guys that do Meet the Managers and the Investment Forum and those kind of stuff. You've heard Kevin here on the show before, Kevin Hinton, and they are for the first time presenting the Financial Planning Summit, which is really going to be awesome. And it's 3 days of value-packed sessions and speakers and panels and all of that. So that the registration is open. You can just visit the website at www.financialplanning-summit.co.za. So that's www.financialplanning-summit.co.za. So go check it out and book your place and join us for that. Really looking forward. I'll be moderating one of the panels, and I know that Kobus Klein is also on one of the panels. So really looking forward to that. I've had a look at the agenda. The agenda will also be available from the website, so you can go and see exactly what it's going to be about. And I will be talking more about it as the days come and as I have more information. But just go check it out, www.financialplanning-summit.co.za. Cool beans. So let me quickly see who's also in. Adrian, good morning. Carol, good morning. Never miss one, eh? And Chart van der Walt, goeiemorgen, Chart. Kobus, looking forward to be a panelist on the summit in October. Yes. So definitely. I think you're on the last day, Kobus, if I remember correctly. But good stuff. All right. So let me get into the show. And I'm really looking forward to introducing Norma to you. So on that note, I see she's got a big smile on her face. So good morning, Norma. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Francois. Thanks for having me, and hi to everyone.
Yeah, good stuff. Sorry, there's somewhere we had a refresh just now. So just a quick introduction, Norma, and then we can get into the conversation.
Yes, I was born and raised on the West Rand, and I did my school here. And then after that, I studied at the University of Johannesburg, and then started in the financial services industry. So I started working for a big asset management company, and did some further studies there, did my CFP there, and worked for about 13 years in the industry. And at some point moved to a wealth management company, and then worked there for a couple of years, had my kids, and then decided that I was going to leave the corporate world and start on this personal development journey where I found really what is my passion, my mission, and my business today.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I must just say, like, I had the privilege of working with you for the last, we've known each other. We worked together at a company, and that's how we got to meet back in 2006 and 7, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the sort of, if I see where you are today, and as I said, I had the privilege of working with you over the last 8, well, a little bit more than that. I think it's been 12 weeks now, but we've really worked together like 8 weeks, and then for 4 weeks we've been chatting every now and then. So and it's like I can see sort of the passion and I guess when somebody found that thing that makes them tick, that's the thing that you can see. When I speak to you, like it's funny. It's like when Quentin saw like I like the training stuff. There's a lift in your energy. There's like your whole body changes, like the way you do. And I just want to say, like, that's what I see when you start talking about this stuff. This comes from a place of like, this is awesome, and I really love this, and this is, as you say, it's your mission. So that's really amazing. Then so just a little bit, you are on the life coaching side of stuff. What is that about? So what is your approach, and how do you sort of approach that?
Yeah, so I'm a life coach currently, and what I really try and do is to get people to have a focused conversation. I think the questions I normally ask my clients is questions they never actually sit down and ask themselves. So number one, the conversation is very focused. And then secondly, I think it's a very open conversation where people feel they have the trust that they can sort of share what they might not be able to share with someone else. So it's important to create an environment where they have, this non-judgmental space where they can really say what struggles they have, what visions they have for themselves, dreams they have for themselves. So then basically what we do is we see where the person is at the moment, and then see what the gap is to where they want to be. And then we start working around how we can get there and action steps to actually get there. So then also obviously things like obstacles and that comes up, which we deal with. And sometimes it's personal things. It's maybe beliefs that's in the way of the person getting to where they want to be. And obviously we'll then work around that. But I think, just creating that space and that focus, just give them, the opportunity to completely share with where they are and where they want to be.
So are you someone that has always had it figured out when you were growing up in school and all of that? Was Norma this very focused, knew what she wanted, like just involved in everything? Is that Norma? Or what was growing up like for you?
Okay, no, I was extremely shy while growing up, and I can remember always wanting to achieve and to prove myself, to feel worthy and feeling enough. So no, I didn't ever in the past, not even today, having everything figured out. I think learning every day and learning new things about yourself is just part of life. So yeah, growing up and wanting to achieve and I think even growing up and started my career, if I look back, there's a lot of places where I can actually see where I was still wanting to prove and achieve to maybe just fill a gap of belonging and feeling enough. So once I started this personal development journey, obviously that was a place where I started seeing that, there's this better life for yourself. And that's where I started this whole journey. And like I said, still learning today and learning things about myself and learning from my clients, because a lot of things they struggle with is a lot of things I struggle with. So, and like talking about it and just supporting each other, I think that's quite a big thing.
Yeah, which I love. I mean, I must say, when we had our conversations and all of that, it's sort of like, I think often we get to a certain level and we're very comfortable to talk to that specific level or to delve into that specific level. And then, you took it like a level deeper. So some people would like to take it higher, but you go deeper and you really get to really think about the questions and you talk about it and you talk through it. And then, I think that is sort of where the value sits with us, because often we will only go as far as we feel comfortable. As soon as we get uncomfortable, we sort of retract and we take a step back, and we don't go that one step further where your breakthrough is maybe just on the other side of that one little step.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely an important part. So, did you love school? Was school a good experience for you overall? Or was school like one of those things like, I don't know why there's school? How do you feel about that?
No, I absolutely hated it. I think I'm an introvert and get my energy from being by myself and recharging that way. Where I think in a group, in a school, it's you just have to consistently be surrounded by people. And I think that was most probably my biggest struggle, was having to be in people's faces 24/7. So no, if I look back, yes, that was definitely a big struggle for me. And I'm glad that I actually found that, and today can say that I'm an introvert and that I love spending time with myself and I love recharging. And it doesn't say that I can't be in big groups. I just find that I can be in a big group for a certain amount of time, but then I have to go back and recharge. So that was a big struggle for me.
Yeah, and just leave planet Earth for 3 years or so and then go recharge and come back. You primarily like to work with women and also women who have their own businesses, or they're working in their own thing, doing their own thing. So, what are some of the biggest struggles that you've come across, or that you sort of observe, frequently for women, let's say in a workplace setting? Or what are some of the most things that they do struggle with in that setup?
I think women lack focus sometimes. They complain about always, looking like they have to have everything figured out, thinking they should be superwoman all the time. Also not feeling good enough, feeling like they're going to be found out, like that imposter syndrome, which is quite a thing that is talked about these days. And just, needing to have so many hats on during the day that they lack focus in their business. And then especially for single moms as well, having to be both figures in the household, having to earn an income, having to run around after the kids and still have a successful business. So that's quite a big struggle that I find most of my clients have.
And from a personal point of view, in their like on the personal side, because that's, I think women in general, they are just so caring that they often give so much of themselves to others, and then they neglect the personal side. And from is that something that you see, and what are some of the most significant things that they struggle with just personally, apart from that? Because that's in the workplace. I've got to be proving myself all the time. I've got to do so much. I got to focus on being then a good mother and all of that. But that all feels to me like that's the workplace stuff. Even being a mom is a real work. It's a real job, not a real work. You see, I'm from the Free States. It's a real job. So, but from a personal point of view, what are the things that they then struggle with, because these things are interlinked. I mean, you can't like really, and we try to do that. We try and divide our personal lives from our business lives, but it's actually not possible, in my opinion.
No, very true. The work-life balance is also quite a big thing. But I think maybe on a personal level, they have continuous guilt because if they're at work, they feel that they have to be at home with the family. And if they're at home with a family, they feel they have to be at work to make an impact in their business. So the guilt is quite a big thing. And maybe as well, just taking time for themselves and really reflecting on what's important to them. Because I hear a lot of women say that they've been so busy in their careers and with kids and family that they completely forget about who they are, what they want, what their passion is, and where their energy flows. So I would think on a personal level, that would be the most things that come up most of the time.
Okay. And then, through the things that you do, what are some of the breakthroughs and I mean, how does that help women sort of link these two things and really get back to who they are and what they want, and then helping them to translate that into their business?
I think, again, coming back to the focused conversation and then me seeing, because I mean, it's very easy to speak to someone and pick up where their passions are and where their energies flow. So I think from my side, just asking them the right questions in saying, what is it that you enjoy? What is it that makes your energy flow? And then taking it from there. And a lot of the times it's not new information to them. It's just they've never had the opportunity to actually sit down and be focused and think about those things. And from then on, it's quite a simple process. Because I mean, you find out what you love and what gives you the energy. And then you start making sort of action plans, making decisions about how you're going to get there. And I think just that focused conversation puts women in the position to really say, okay, this is where I want to be, and I'm going to take action steps to actually get there, because it's important to me and it's important for my business, and it's important in actually every area of life. And every area of life to be balanced, because life is not just about one area of your life. It's like, if you see it as a big wheel, if one area of your life is a 10 out of 10 and the other area of your life is a 2 out of 10, that wheel is not going to be able to turn. So there needs to be balance.
Okay. And I mean, let's go back a little bit to where was the turning point for you? What happened that made you go like, ish, there must be more to life than this corporate career, or there must be more to life than trying to be all these things, all at once. And like, what was that thing that happened for you? Because for everybody, there is something. There's usually an event. We always intrinsically know, I think, that something's not right, or there must be more. We always like walk around with these questions, but then there's some significant thing that happens usually that gets you to take action or to make a decision at least, and then take it from there. And was there something like that for you?
Yes. I think a big moment for me was while I was still with the wealth management company just before I left, is that, and at that point I had my two boys, and I was traveling. My traveling time per day was around about 2.5 to 3 hours. So, I mean, besides your work hours, it was the traveling that was quite a big deal then as well. And then in a performance appraisal, my boss at that point was saying to me, what was my visions, where did I want to go, and what was important to me. And we discussed it, and I exactly told him where I wanted to go, and I wanted flexibility because I wanted to be at home more. And he said to me that I must remember that I can't have everything. And I didn't say much at the time, but having thoughts about, I don't actually agree with that, because there's plenty of examples in society where women do have a successful career and they have quality time with their family. So I just immediately thought that I don't agree with it. And then the second part of it is really, what do you find success as? Because my idea of success was obviously very different to his definition of success. So, and then I just decided, you know what, that I'm going to look for my, my success, and it's not necessarily going to be the same as yours. So that was the first really turning point for me, realizing that, there's bigger things out there and I have to go and find it and just go look for it.
So what action did you take? So once that happened, what did you do after that?
Well, I resigned.
Awesome. How long did it take you to resign, like to make that decision?
It was actually a couple of months.
Okay.
And
so it wasn't a hasty decision, like in the moment, like screw you, I'm going to show you. It wasn't that. It was like, let me think this through, and then I don't agree, and then you make the decision.
Yeah. So I consider myself a very responsible person, and that was very out of my character to just without having anything in the pipe.
All right. So sorry for that. The laptop restarted all by itself. So she'll be back in a second. We're just busy joining from a phone, and then we'll continue this conversation. So sorry for that. And but that's how it goes, eh? Live shows. We enjoy it. So let me see so long what we've got on the chats. Koba says, yes, he'll be a panelist on the summit in October. On day 3. So, yes, that is what it will be. Alwetu, good morning. Very nice to have you with us. Johan Maree, lekker om jou ook te sien. Jaco Roots, goeiemôre. And so let's see. Justin says, a extroverted introvert. I don't know if there is really a thing like that, Justin. In my opinion, I think we adapt to what the workplace expects of us, or what we think the workplace expects of us, and that is what is so draining. So, yeah, you are, in my opinion, you're either an introvert or an extrovert, and then you also get these omniverts, I think. So maybe that's one thing, but we'll see. So, Carol, so let me just see. Every coach needs a coach, she says. Yeah, everybody needs a coach, I think, but also just being able to have a conversation, with someone that asks you a question, and there's no judgment, and there's no, you really can get out of that place where you try and justify everything you do, and just honestly look at all the things that I'm doing, really, really making a difference, or are they really, really the truth, or am I really just telling myself stories and coming up with excuses of why certain things can or can't happen. All right, so let me see. Carol also says, a coach, someone unbiased to help you identify what it is, what you want, and focus on things that will get you there, but also to be happy in the process. Yes, that's something that's come up quite a lot in the last while, where a lot of people, I think, started focusing on happiness during COVID and all of that. I hate talking about that, but in that sense, then it's definitely something that one would need to consider. But I think happiness does go over everything else. I've always said in my life that if you pay me R1 million a month, but I hate what I do, I won't do it. There is no amount of money that's going to get me to do what I don't like. And I've learned that the hard way, because I have done a lot of things before because I thought I had to, and it just causes more frustration than anything else. Ross, good morning. It's Tallies, goeiemôre. Nice of you to see Marcel Jardim, good morning. I can relate, she says. And then Mark says a very interesting story. Guys, yeah, so sorry, just a second. Let me just help Norma quickly just get her phone up and running. I see it says here that she's trying to get in, so I'm sorry for the delay. I'll be back in 1 second. Just a moment, please. Sorry for that. Here we go. We won, believe it or not. Fantastic. Norma, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's how it goes, So when Bill Gates decides that he restarts your machine, he does that immediately, and he doesn't ask what you're busy with. So apologies for that, but that's one of those things. Alrighty, so let's continue the conversation. People have been saying it's a very interesting conversation and all of that. So let's continue, Norma. If we look at the where were we? So we were talking
about the resigning. So yes, I resigned,
yes.
But it wasn't a sudden decision. It came over a couple of months. And then although I didn't have anything in the pipeline, I still felt that I needed to get out of that environment. And then obviously I was at home for a while, sort of just figuring out what my next step was going to be.
Yeah, awesome. I just want to say thank you that nobody went anywhere, that you didn't leave us. So thank you very much for that. I can see the number of people viewing us stayed the same. So just a deep thanks from us and for bearing with us. So yeah, okay. So one of the things that you sort of took on after this, I mean, there was a few things, because obviously you went into personal development for yourself, figuring out who Norma is and all of that. But then you get this crazy idea, and I will call it crazy, because I think even if I'm at the fittest level, I won't do this. I can tell you now. Well, I don't know. Maybe I also get crazy then. But to do an Ironman, where did that idea come from? What prompted this? What started this? What got you into it? Because I want to spend some time on this, because this is a very interesting part of the conversation. So where did that come from, and what made you do it?
Okay, I grew up, my dad was a comrades runner, and we always obviously we supported him being, at the finish line, supporting him. And I think it was just part of how I grew up. And as well, I've always been involved in sports, just on a very social level, not very competitive. And even after school, just to stay fit, I just kept running. And I think at that point, so I decided I was going to take on this next challenge, which was that Ironman. I was very confident in sports. To me, it was always an area where, I didn't have to put in a lot of effort. It was something that came naturally for me. So then I decided to, because of my running, I think I was fit at that point. So it was just a question of adding the swimming and adding the cycling to what I already was doing. And that was quite an easy transition for me.
So what is this Ironman thing all about? I mean, what is this? Because I think there's sort of two, right? And why is there not an Iron Woman? That's the next question. But let's just first start with what is an Ironman and what is it all about?
Okay, so an Ironman is you have different entry levels. So some call it a sprint and some call it a Olympic distance. But the level I entered at was it's normally referred to as a half Ironman. So that would be where you swim a 1.9 kilometer, you cycle 90 kilometers, and then you run a 21 kilometer. So then that was where my entry level was. And then the next level would be double the half, which would be a 3.8 kilometer swim, 180 kilometer cycle, and then a 42 kilometer run.
Jeez. Yeah, see, I just get tired from listening to what that consists of. But I mean, obviously, it's one thing to decide to do this, and then sort of to say, okay, I'm really committing to this. And then there's the preparation that sort of needs to happen. So I want to sort of, talk us through like some of the preparation and the lessons that you've learned, because there's obviously different phases to this. So let's start with the preparation for the race itself. I mean, when did you start, and when was the first race, and what did that preparation for that first event really consist of, and what were some of the lessons that you learned from that?
Okay, so I think for me, pre-race would be just getting the mindset right, just knowing what your outcome is, and then obviously taking actions to get to that place. So things like perseverance comes up, things like believing in yourself and having discipline to do this on a consistent basis. So I mean, this takes effort every single day. I mean, in some areas of your life, you put in effort, let's say once a week to achieve something, or once every second day. But this is something that really takes consistent training every single day over a period of time. And then I think, like a training partner, in my case, halfway through my training partner decided that she wasn't going to continue with the training. So for me, having to, and the big lesson for me was at that point where you have to take accountability for the outcome. And you have to take responsibility for where you want to go. And because it's quite nice to have a partner and knowing that you have to show up because your partner's going to be there. But if that partner's not there, you still have to have that sort of inner motivation and inner drive to get yourself to do the things that is actually quite hard. And I mean, some of the things you have to do before the race would be, for instance, on a weekend, you would have to do a cycle of 3 hours plus a 20K run, or on the Sunday having like a 6-hour bike ride and then doing a 2-hour run after that. So that takes really like motivation. And I think for you to stay on track, you would definitely have to know the reason why you want to achieve that thing and know what is important to you. Because if you don't have those things, then it's quite easy just to say, you know what, I'm actually not in the mood to do that today. I'm going to do something else. So it's very important to know why you do that thing and why it's important to you.
Yeah, and it's like anything. I mean, I've spoken to people who've decided to immigrate, for example. And some people, they immigrate. I mean, that is something completely different now from Ironman, all right? But I think for some people, it feels like an Ironman. You leave South Africa, you go to another country. Some people thrive and others just can't adapt, they can't make it, and they come back. So it's like anything in life where if your reason for doing whatever it is you decided to do isn't clear to you and it isn't something that you truly commit to stick it out. Doesn't matter how much strategy you have or how many people you have around you that can keep you accountable. At some point you may not see it through, or even if you do see it through, you're not going to give it your all. I mean, to have a commitment. I mean, how long was the preparation? 8 months or something? How long was that?
Yeah, for the full Ironman, it was an 8-month preparation.
And for the half one?
The half was it was about 3 months.
Okay, so it was
3 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's just so that's all happening sort of pre-race, and you've got this long, and it's almost like. I think it was, I can't remember who is it that said, like, when you go to war, that you spend 90% of the time preparing and planning, and 10% is really fighting. And it's almost sort of the same thing, because your preparation, your run up to this event, all of that is such a big part versus like the event itself is actually, it's a day and it's done, you know. I'm up to half an hour cycling. I just want to mention that. So I get 30 minutes and then I'm done for 2 days. So I don't know how you go and cycle for 6 hours and then go run another 2. It's amazing. But so that's all happening pre-race. And then, during the race, because obviously, I mean, that's where, and we've had people like Ryan Stramroot on the show, who obviously he does all these extreme adventure swimming. So he swam from Robben Island. He broke the record the other day. He swam it 109 times. But he's also been to some exquisite places all over the world, swimming in icy water. And he said, like, the main thing that keeps you going is mindset. That is the thing that pulls you through. Is that sort of the same thing with Ironman? You know, the only Ironman I have is the one that was here on the show, like when we started. I just want to mention that as well. So, but during the race, Norma, what is that like, and what are the lessons that one learns from going through this and actually completing that event?
Yeah. So again, obviously on the day, when you're on that starting line, not seeing the race as one big goal that you have to achieve at the end of the day, but breaking it up into smaller pieces. Because if you think you're starting at the starting line and 12 hours from there, or whatever times it takes you to get over the finish line, if you think about that goal, it's so big that I think it will totally overwhelm you. So what I did was just take each discipline and finish it. And for instance, the swim, for instance. So just the mindset in general. So if I can just take each discipline and just sort of go through and tell you the lessons that I've learned there, is the swim, for instance, where you at the morning of the race, it's quite important to like look at the sea and see what the environment is all about. So if it's cold, if the water's cold, and if you're going to be swimming in choppy waters. So I think that's the lesson I learned from that is to take that back into how you can apply that to your life. So that your outer environment, you'll never be able to completely determine your outer environment. So that's why you have to focus on the stuff that you do have control over, which is the inner environment, and that's where the mindset comes in. So let's say, for instance, using an example, someone cuts you off in traffic, or you have a bad day at the office, or people, you're meeting people that it's negative. That things you can't control, but how you perceive those situations and what you do on your inside, that is what's going to determine the outcome. And then secondly, if you're in that ice, you're in that cold water and the water's choppy and the wave pushes you back, that's sort of a lesson for me where if you look around, and I'm really struggling at that point. I'm almost at that point where I want to give up because I'm thinking I'm not going to survive this. If you look around, there's people that this seems like they're just going, and it's like environment doesn't have an effect on them. And just something I can so clearly remember is I was really struggling, and I was thinking, how can all of these people be just swimming and going and just killing it? And at that point, this all happens most probably in a couple of seconds. But then you think to yourself, what are they doing or seeing that I'm not seeing or doing? And I think immediately just fear comes up, and thinking that everyone has fear, but we all deal differently with it. So, what I saw was they also have fear, but they're taking it head on. They are not letting that fear overwhelm them. So that was quite a big thing for me on the swim. And then can I go ahead and
on the bike? So let's talk about the bike.
Okay. So now you're out of the water, you're transitioning, you're going into the bike leg. So that is quite a big part of the race, because that is the majority of time is spent on the bike. So that for me is quite a time where you spend a lot of time thinking. And then, and again, is what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about the pain in the moment? Are you thinking about still this all of these kilometers ahead of you? So there the mindset is quite a big thing. And always, obviously, talking positive things to yourself, because there's no use telling yourself, I'm tired, I want to give up. So there you have to really see and look at your mindset and say, you know what, I need to put positive things in my mind so I can finish this challenge. And then the second thing, which is what's also quite stood out for me there, was so you're on this bike and you've got this beautiful scenery around you. The sea is most of the time is on the left. So I think that is a time where you really need to appreciate where you are. Because sometimes I think we just see the goal and we just want to get to the goal, but we forget that, like you mentioned earlier, is 90% of the time is actually the preparation towards achieving that goal. So just being in the moment and appreciating where you are, and just enjoying life in general, if you bring that back into general your general life. So just enjoying where you are at the moment then. And then, like I mentioned about the appreciation. And then from then on, again, you're going into transition, and then you're going out, putting the running shoes on and going out on the run. So the run is normally 4 laps of 10 kilometers, more or less. So they're quite important for me. And what really stood out is this is now the later part of the race. And or again, mental strength is quite you have to really dig deep to find the strength to continue this. So I think, and bringing that again back to life, is you have to, although you don't always have the resources, but you have to be resourceful. So for instance, in a case where you are in a business and you don't have the capital or you don't have the clients, just to be resourceful. So going out and finding ways of, networking, getting in front of people's audiences and making opportunities for yourself there. So that resourcefulness is quite an important thing for me. And then and especially on the run, which is quite the nice part of the race, because that is where all the supporters is. So you obviously have the people pack their coolers and they basically sit there for the entire day. So that is quite important for me, because I think in life as well, we need that support. So you need to find your tribe where you surround yourself with quality people that pulls you up and that can support you in times where you really need it. So that was quite a big deal for me, and especially so late in the race, because you see, you obviously get tired. You find that motivation drops quite a bit, and having people just cheering you on just makes a big difference at that point. And for them just reminding you that the end is near. So that was quite a big point in the race.
Yeah, that's amazing. I just made a note here as you were talking. It's almost like, if you think about the swimming and then the cycling, which is the biggest part of the race, and you hardly have any supporters. Maybe, there's support crew and people obviously along the way to make sure that you're fine and all of that. But there isn't really an audience there or people cheering you on or anything like that. And then you get to the latter part of the race, which is really like the last bit of the race, almost, if you want that, because the biggest part of the race is done. It's not to say that the last part is easier. It's just as hard as the previous ones. But here you go and suddenly people start cheering you. So if you decided to quit when you were in the water, nobody would have cheered you. If you decided to quit with a bike, nobody would have cheered you. But if you stick it out and you're like, that's a powerful message for me. That's what I'm hearing from all of this. So this is really amazing. And then post race, I mean, now you've finished. What has been some of the lessons? What did you do after you finished your race? Because now you've done, was it 3 half ones and 2 full ones?
Yes.
Yes. So what do you do once that race is done?
I think a big thing is to celebrate, and that's really in life as well. Once you achieve something that you've really worked hard for, it's important to celebrate it and to see and acknowledge yourself for it, and acknowledge the time and the effort that has gone into achieving that dream. So and another point as well is to actually reflect on the race and reflect on life, and see what you've done really well, and actually take note of it, and if you can write it down somewhere, because I think in times when we have challenges, we forget about at that specific point that we were actually quite good at dealing with a specific struggle. And if you can take what you've done in that specific struggle that made it successful, if you can try and use that in your life and using that as an example to sort of push you forward. And then again as well, I mean, not necessarily calling it failures. I normally like to call it rather lessons, is that, yes, I've done this. It wasn't very successful for me in the moment, but taking that lesson and see how you can turn it around or how you can better it for future times, not to make the same mistake. So I think the celebrating is very important, because otherwise it's just going to be about the goal. And then you have to celebrate, celebrate your efforts, and then looking at what you've done well and what you can improve for future. That is quite a big thing after the race. And I mean, obviously, just applying it to everyday life.
So have you always been this strong-minded? Have your mindset always been, like you could push through anything, or is it something that you had to learn?
I think most probably I've had it, but this race just sort of amplified it for me, and exactly given me an example in my life where I have set an enormous goal for myself and I've achieved it. So I think necessarily before that, I might have had successes and might have been strong-willed where I didn't necessarily saw it. But I think this race just gave me an opportunity to see that I maybe have a strong mind, and I've actually proven it to myself. And I think just having the confidence now to say that race is such a sort of a reminder for me to really see what I'm capable of. So I think the race was really just like a big eye opener for me to see the good qualities and the mindset, what's possible.
So here's a hard question. Is that something that you're born with then, or is it something that you can still learn? Having a strong mindset, is that something you can teach yourself?
I think it is. I believe in a growth mindset. So I don't think we're born with a mindset and it stays like that forever. I think and again, referring back to, you need to know why you're doing something and why it's important to you. Because if those two things is quite big for you and you know those reasons, then you can really push through anything. Like some people say sometimes that they don't have discipline, but I don't believe that it's not their discipline that is the problem. I think it is their goals that they set for themselves, because those goals are not aligned with who they are. And that's the reason why they're not disciplined, because they don't see the importance of reaching that goal, or they don't know why they're reaching that goal.
Yes. Cool. So, Norma, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, that's amazing, just by the way. I don't know what it feels like to be in one of those races. And is it really a race, or is it just really a race against yourself to see what you're capable of? Do you focus at all on the people that are with you in these races and that are sort of going in the same direction? I mean, you said when you were in the water, you were very aware that everybody's really filled with fear, but they just, pushing forward and all of that. But do you really focus on them, or are you just focusing on yourself and just making sure that you're okay? Or what is that like? What, like you're in the thick of things?
I think obviously for the guys that's doing this for the money or doing it as a career, I think they are obviously very focused on the people around them. But for me, it was a personal goal for me. So I wasn't really too concerned about the people around me. That I set goals for myself, what I wanted to do in the swim, what I wanted to do in the bike parts, and then what I wanted to do in the run. And that was a focus for me the whole time. So no, and looking back as well, every time I did a race, I wanted to go back and do better than what I did before, not necessarily competing against someone else. So it was very much a personal challenge for me, and just basically, showing myself that there's definitely possibility and there's bigger things that I can achieve.
Yeah. And again, I just want to make one comment and then I'll move on to the next question. But it's like, I don't know, now I forgot what I wanted to say. Anyway, let's move on. Sorry, I totally forgot what I wanted to say now, but I wanted to make a comment on what you said before, so it'll come back to me in a second. But anyway, so your role models, is there any particular people, or are there any particular people that you look up to and that really shapes the way that you view things and that you think about and the way you go about doing things?
I can't remember of ever having a specific role model. I think, and thanks to social media today and the access we have to people all over the world, I normally like to go and look for people that has done what I still want to achieve in life. And I think that is, that's for me, the role models and teachers that I find that I can relate to, and that has a story that inspires me, and that obviously has done things that I also want to achieve. But I just think one person that might stand out for me is Tony Robbins. So he's obviously in the personal development space, and he's done amazing work, and he's impacted a lot of people. And I just think his energy and his wisdom is just a sort of a place where I want to be, and that I can relate to a lot of things he says. And I like the way that he just approaches coaching in general. So he would be the one person that I would say that really stands out for me.
Awesome. Who inspires you? So is there anybody in particular that inspires?
I think if I just look around and I see people getting out of their comfort zones and really putting themselves out there, that's quite inspiring for me. Because I think a lot of the time we don't do what, we have this amount of talent inside us, but we don't necessarily go out there and share it with the world because we're afraid of getting judged or not being good enough or not doing it perfectly. And what really inspires me is people that take whatever they've got and putting it out there, and not really being too concerned about people's opinions, but just taking what was given to them and then sharing it with the world. And that's quite it's an inspiring thing for me.
Awesome. So is there an overall takeaway or a message that you want to leave, specifically women in this time, because this is still Women's Month, and we are celebrating women with the series. And so is there any particular message that you want to leave women with today?
I just think in general, I think women need to shine their light, and I think women should not be afraid to live their life, above the radar, not trying to contract themselves and then make themselves smaller, but really take what was given to them and just share it with the world, because there might just be a person out there that can really relate, and your message just resonating with them, and that might just inspire them to do more. So I just think women in general should just take what was given to them and don't be afraid to share it, and don't be afraid to be unique. That's not necessarily having a very unique product or having something very unique. I think, and even in the financial advising space, I mean, there's only so many new things and products, but the individual taking their individuality and bringing it to their client, I think that's the thing that really distinguishes you from someone else. Not being afraid to take what you've got and your strengths and the way you do business, and taking it with whatever product you're selling and giving that to your client, because that at the end of the day is going to differentiate you from the guy next door. Yeah,
no, I agree. And there's one comment that I want to sort of just make a comment on as well, and maybe hear what you think. So Johan Marais said that I think that some people have not yet decided what they want out of their business and life. And I'm glad you used the word and not or, because the one is not exclusive or excluding the other one. Until they decide what they want, then the effort must be there. If there is no effort, then how can you expect to be successful? Now, what I want to add to that comment is I fully agree with you, Johan. I think the problem here is that first sentence is that so many of us get stuck there, is that you just can't make a decision. That's the first problem. There's absolutely people that are making decisions and then not following through because their why is not strong enough. But from that point, it's like people are so like, what am I supposed to do? I can't do this. Or all they choose to see is all the negative things around them and all the reasons why they can't do something. That is the most frustrating thing. It's really, I think the first step, even before this, is that one needs to open your mind to possibility, like really. And then just tell yourself, like, yes, these are all the reasons why I can't do this, or why that will never happen, or whatever may be the outcome of that. And to just say, you know what, how can I make this happen? How can this become, because it is definitely there. And I wanted to go back, Norma, when you said, if you don't have resources, you have to be resourceful. And the best place to start with resourcefulness, in my opinion, I don't know if you agree with me, but it's like talking to people. That's where you start. Just start talking to people. Ask them if they've ever dealt with something like you're doing.
Yes.
Or, what have they done? Or do they know somebody? Things like just have open and honest conversations. I think that is the best way of being resourceful as a start. So I don't know, do you want to add any thoughts to Johan's comment here, Norma?
Yes, the part where he says has not yet decided. I think sometimes we want whatever we're deciding to be perfect, but it's never going to be perfect. So you have to, if you have 3 or 4 options, choose one and stick with it, because you are going to, along the line, you are going to find what works for you and what not. And then obviously at that point, what it's not working, just change it to make it work for you. So I think that deciding is a big thing, because even if you don't start, then there's not going to be progress. And instead of looking for perfection, and I think that is what actually stops a person from even starting something, is because they have this perfection mindset, because everything I put out there needs to be perfect. But I think if we all just think of doing it and being like a work in progress, and again, I mean, judgment and all of that comes in because we're afraid of what people's going to say about something. But just the best way to start is to start.
Yes. Norma, thank you very much. I think it was an insightful and obviously interesting conversation. And and then we had some technical difficulties, which I think we really handled very well. It's the first time it's happened, but there's always a first time. And I think we both, like, you didn't get rattled. So well done. You stayed calm. So well done. That's that focus thing, I think, that kicked in. And luckily I knew what to do and things. So I think it worked out okay. But just from my side, thank you very much for joining me today and for sharing this. I would really like to actually have more conversations with you. So possibly on the podcast, we can also do that. But just from my side, and you can go and have a look at all the comments that were there. You can go back to the YouTube video and see some of that, and also on LinkedIn. But for everybody that joined us live, just from my side, thank you very much. Norma, from my side, thank you so much. I deeply appreciate you. And I hope to have you back at some stage.
Yes, sure. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everyone listening.
Cool stuff. Guys, thank you very much. Remember to join myself and Rizan Oosthuizen on Friday for episode 99 at 3 p.m. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.